1 year after its creation, the first General Assembly of the ISPC took place at the 2020 World Summit and had for theme the realization of an ideal world of peace centered on coexistent mutual prosperity and universal values. It brought together nearly 7,000 high-ranking personalities from 171 countries, including 120 former and current heads of state and government. The former Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, delivered the welcoming address. Several heads of state and government then highlighted the vision of the ISPC through speeches.
I'd like to thank and extend my special gratitude to Dr. Hak Ja-han for hosting this summit and commend her long-standing commitment to peace and reconciliation.
Por eso me permito felicitar a los fundadores de la UPF, porque están haciendo lo que otros solo hablan.
The Mother of Peace encouraged participants to place God at the center of everything and called for the realization of peace in the world.
우리는 하늘 부모님 앞에 참 효자, 효녀, 충신이 되는 길을 가야 할 것입니다.
In addition, First Ladies from several countries came together with the same heart and determination as their husbands. Thanks to the ISCP, in December 2019, the Republic of Palau successfully organized the Asia-Pacific First Ladies Summit, which brought together 80 women leaders, including 20 First Ladies. These ladies launched the International Association of First Ladies for Peace in order to solve, with a mother's heart, the fundamental problems of the world and thus spread the women's peace movement.
We must look into ourselves, draw upon that value, and work together as women traditionally would to create solutions to challenge the threat that our families are facing in our homes and our nations. Let's take this opportunity to build strong relationship and partnership for our future and for the future of our children.
The Mother of Peace is determined to achieve a world of harmony and peace with a motherly love.
Yes.
Accompanied by the Association of First Ladies, they will broaden the horizon of a world of peace through close collaboration with the ISCP.
Good morning, buenos dias, and good afternoon. Welcome to everyone joining us for this virtual seminar as part of the International Leadership Conference commemorating the 15th anniversary of the Universal Peace Federation. These seminars are being held in multiple time zones across the world with a concentration on 7 different leadership areas. Our common goal for these seminars is to extend an ongoing dialogue where the pillars of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values bring us together as one human family. Today's session is featuring our International Association of First Ladies for Peace from the Americas and the Caribbean. My name is Dr. Susan Taffer. I'm founder of World Connections Foundation and the U.S. Western Regional Director for the Global Women's Peace Network. I will be serving as a facilitator for this seminar presentation where these dynamic women will be addressing the logistics and the landscape for women in leadership during times of global crisis. Please join me now in receiving the welcoming remarks from Reverend Mrs. Angelika Selle, President of the Women's Federation for World Peace, USA, and the North American Chair for the International Association of First Ladies for Peace. She is an educator, a motivational speaker, a writer, an ambassador for peace, and has worked with government officials around the world, receiving multiple awards for her exemplary leadership. Please welcome.
Distinguished women leaders, ladies and gentlemen, and friends and colleagues joining us. Good morning. Bienvenido, bienvenida, bienvenue, welcome to this very first and continental launch of the International Association of First Ladies for Peace here in the Americas and the Caribbean. Let us bow our head for a short prayer. Dear God, Creator of us all, we greet you this morning on the second day of the International Leadership Conference 2020. We invite your divine presence with us as we begin our inaugural session of the IAFLP here in the Americas and the Caribbean. We thank you for bringing together extraordinary women leaders at this time of global crisis. As women and mothers, as nurturers, primary educators, and preservers of life, we feel most urgent about bringing solutions as well as nurturing, healing, upliftment, comfort, and our feminine touch to our ailing humanity and our suffering planet. Please bless our deliberations and discussions right here in this hour, and also bless the remaining sessions of this important International Conference for Peace. Amen. Thank you for joining me in prayer. It is my honor to be with you today, and I welcome you again to this first launch of the IAFLP here in the Americas, as we engage in learning from our esteemed presenters, our prestigious panel leaders, wives of former heads of state, women leaders of government, and prominent leaders of civil society. They will be addressing our global crisis and current issues from a variety of unique perspectives. Most of all from a woman's perspective, and provide us with a new vision, purpose, compassion, and hope. We look forward to their wisdom, insights, as well as practical guidance to successfully navigate through these challenging times together and find hope and new opportunities rather than hopelessness and despair. A brief word about the founding of this new initiative. The IAFLP is a project of the International Summit Council for Peace, ISCP, of the Universal Peace Federation, in partnership with the Women's Federation for World Peace International and the Office of the President and First Lady of the Republic of Palau. The inaugural session of the IAFLP took place in the Asia-Pacific region in December 2019. 2 months later, during UPF's World Summit 2020 in Korea, the inaugural World Assembly of IAFLP convened with 18 current and former First Ladies in attendance from around the world. UPF and Women's Federation for World Peace are NGOs in general consultative status at the UN, at the Economic and Social Council. Both organizations were founded by Dr. Hak Jahan Moon and her late husband, the Reverend Dr. Samuel Moon, whom we lovingly call Father and Mother Moon. Their profound vision, dedication, sacrifice, an example over many decades to create a world of peace as one family under God has inspired millions around the globe. This vision is based on a simple philosophy of living for the sake of others and living by the logic of love. IAFLP seeks to connect with women leaders from all national, racial, and religious backgrounds and sectors of society to join together with the First Ladies in their nations and to unite in solidarity to respond to today's challenges. Women joining hands to protect and empower youth, to bridge the many divides, strengthen and heal our families and communities, and to establish models of compassionate and balanced leadership has never been more crucial. As we gather here today, former First Ladies and women leaders, in the presence of the daughter of our founder, Dr. Sanjin Moon, who is the International Senior Vice President of Women's Federation, we feel hope and excitement in the air for this new partnership and grassroots movement to be launched here in the Americas and the Caribbean. Once again, we welcome you warmly and wish you a most enlightening and successful session with the hope that we will stay connected afterwards and continue our conversations and collaborate toward a better world of culture of peace. Thank you.
Thank you, President Selle. As always, your warmth and your graceful presence, it just paves the way for other women who choose to work in collaboration, strength of heart, intellect, and empathy. And now, with great pleasure, I would like to introduce Dr. Sanjin Moon, the International Senior Vice President of WFWP, and she is the fifth daughter of our founder, Dr. Hak Jahan Moon. She's been a volunteer for the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification, the Universal Peace Federation, and the Women's Federation for World Peace since the year 2000. Dr. Moon is currently the chairwoman of the Pacific Rim Education Foundation in Hawaii. A warm welcome to Dr. Sunjin Moon.
Good morning, buenos dias, aloha from Hawaii. That means eternal love. I am delighted to be here with all of you today for this International Leadership Conference 2020, sponsored by the Universal Peace Federation, and in particular for this session on the theme of women's leadership in times of global crisis, that has been organized by the International Association of First Ladies for Peace, which is part of UPF International Summit Council for Peace, working in partnership with the Women's Federation for World Peace. I want to thank the UPF leaders in the Americas for organizing this timely and relevant ILC 2020. It is an honor to be a panelist in this session, along with so many distinguished women leaders from throughout the Americas. Truly, we are living through a time of crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic has turned our world upside down, and its impact has devastating all across our planet. In addition to the horrific levels of suffering and death caused by the disease, the economic, social, and even political impact has been enormous. As the UN and World Bank statistics tell us, marginalized groups and women are at greater risk in times of crisis. Even though men, because of their poor health choices, may die from the virus at higher rates than women, women are more adversely affected when economic impact, educational setback, and physical abuse in the home are factored in. Neither of these grim statistics for women or men should be acceptable. The impact on children and families is even more grave if their parents are at such risk. This is a mass domino effect of suffering. We cannot sit by and watch as this tragedy unleashes its wrath on our global community and this precious gift of creation. At such a crucial time as this, we must live by the ideals of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values, the founding vision of UPF. And we must work to elevate this world to a new level of complete peace. In order to achieve this goal, women's leadership is absolutely essential. As we see the disparity, divide, doom, despair, depression, destruction, depths, and death toll rise in all sectors of society around the globe, one can only be discouraged and doubtful. Where then is the hope and opportunity during these desperate times? That is precisely why we are gathered here today. We have the capacity to provide hope and opportunity through our combined efforts, guided by universal values that we all share. Together, women leaders from around the world, we can make a difference. I have learned so much over the years from my parents. They have experienced so many tragic circumstances, from the devastation of the Korean War to living in extreme poverty as refugees, witnessing so much pain and suffering. However, they were always able to move forward, even in the worst circumstances, to build a better world. I would like to share with you some words from my father's memoir, entitled A Peace-Loving Global Citizen. In this excerpt, he speaks about his dream of peace, the same dream my beloved and courageous mother has carried forward throughout her own life, especially since the time of his passing. We just celebrated his 8th Ascension ceremony, marking the day of his passing in 2012. In this dream, this vision that is still alive and that has brought us all together in this great peace forum today. These are his words. Throughout history, women have been persecuted, but I predict this will change. The coming world will be a one of reconciliation and peace, based on a woman's maternal character, love, and sociability. The time is coming when the power of women will save the world. Unfortunately, today, many women's organizations apparently believe that standing in opposition to men is a way to demonstrate the power of women. The result is an environment of conflict and competition. The women's organization that my wife leads, on the other hand, seeks to bring about peace on a principle that women should work together, take initiative, and empower one another across traditional lines of race, culture, and religion to create healthy families as a cornerstone for peace. The organizations she works with do not call for a liberation of women from men and families. Instead, they call for women to develop and maintain families filled with love. My wife's dream is to see all women raised as true daughters with filial hearts who can create peace at home, in their communities, in our nation, and in our world. The women's movement being carried about by my wife serves the goal of true families, which are the root of peace in all areas of life. This was our vision for our future, which seems so relevant to our present situation. So what is the path we must take to realize this dream of peace? A peace dream of this magnitude needs commitment, pure passion, and sincere heart, irrepressible drive, an unwavering ethic of hard work, teamwork, global partnership, and a connection through prayer to a higher power seeking guidance and wisdom. Women's Federation for World Peace International was co-founded by my mother, Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon, and my father, Dr. Reverend Sun Myung Moon, at a time in Asia when women's voices were seldom heard outside the home. My mother's memoir, Mother of Peace, she describes a world we all knew of or read about in history, or sadly in some regions still know all too well. She writes, as recently as the 1990s, if a woman headlined an event or speaking tour in the rural area of Korea, people would look askance and dismiss the whole idea. They could not comprehend the idea that a woman could address audiences of women for women. At that time, women had no public voice. Society officially declared that men and women have equal value, but in practice, such a declaration was hardly worth the paper it was printed on. I had long pondered if and when women could fulfill their role as perfected human beings, as fully co-creative and significant members of society, and especially daughters of God. My husband and I had deep experiences in prayer, and we together concluded that it was time for the liberation of all women and for me to take the public role to teach and exemplify it. Over the 28 years since the inception of WFWP, which is now a respected UN NGO, she has carried this torch, lighting the way for each woman to realize her full, complete dignity as an equal child and a daughter of God. As a mother of 14 children and 40 plus grandchildren, a loving, devoted wife for 52 years, a religious luminary, a humanitarian aid advocate for all the voiceless and suffering women and children in the world, and an all-encompassing, loving force of feminine leadership who exemplifies the ultimate value of women. She has created this global foundation of peace to build bridges transcending divisions of race, religion, politics, culture, and creed. She has promoted the idea of living for the sake of others, nurturing a culture of heart. She has transformed the barren landscape of our world into the fertile, rich grounds where women, sisterhood, motherly love flourish, thrive, unite, heal, and light the path forward to enlightenment and transformation for all women and girls, and yes, men and boys. My parents always taught us the need for the complete unity of an enlightened individual, a loving couple, a harmonious family, tribe, nation, and world in oneness with our highest power, God, our heavenly parent. My mother's vision is that the role of women is the single most crucial component of realizing a world at peace. She writes, women need to walk a path of true mother, and at the same time, the path of a true wife, and the path of a true daughter. Women had the magical power to create harmony and to soften hearts. Brides build bridges. The world of the future can be a world of reconciliation and peace, but only if based on the maternal love and affection of women. This true power of womanhood, this time has come for this true power of womanhood to save the world. At the 8th anniversary of my father's passing, which we just celebrated just a week ago, the point that the greatest mission for this time is that we work together to build a healthy, sustainable, vibrant world of peace for future generations. A mother's heart can relate with the ultimate life giver of us all, our Mother Earth. We must unite to save, replenish, revive, and restore our Mother Earth back to her full potential and glory. As global sisters, the Earth is feminine, and we must have her back, for she gives sustenance, vitality, health and well-being, and natural beauty, and is a gift of love from the divine that we must cherish and protect for future generations to come. During these COVID times, our hearts are anchored in our homes, answering the call and needs of our children, our spouses, our parents, extended family, our pets, and our victory gardens. And we all know too well our technological connections. Often we are juggling more than a supermom or CEO could possibly handle. And yet we pull through with greater resolve, love, and passion as never before. We know what is true, precious in our hearts, and what is not right with this world. We know that we need to make that one call. That call is to our highest power, our God, our deepest consciousness. It is in these lockdown quarantine moments that we return to the most precious connections. It is in this unique time that we are all called to unite in a new world order. And that call lies with you, your maternal heart, your loving conscience, and the divine truth that we are one precious family under God, our heavenly parent. That is Mother Moon's vision for the First Ladies, as well as for all women, to be at the center of such distinguished leadership. She says, behind every great man, there is a great woman. And I think we can all agree that's true. The wife is necessary for the completion and perfection of a husband. Without his wife, a husband cannot be whole. A society in which womanhood does not complete and perfect manhood cannot give rise to a peaceful and just world. First ladies, and indeed first gentlemen as well, have a very central role representing that vital completion of the key to a peaceful world. If a nation is led by such a great man and woman, they become the nation's greatest role model, representing the parental heart. They become the nation's leader and teacher, bringing together all citizens to realize a higher ideal, a greater country, and a greater world of peace. WFWPI and I are honored to work with UPF to develop the International Association of the First Ladies for Peace. This IAFLP session builds on the successes of the events held in Palau in 2019, as well as in Korea earlier this year, and ushers in a new era where women's leadership is present in all domains. In honor of my father and your distinguished spouses, I say that today we witness behind every great woman on this panel is a great man. This is a complete picture of God, our heavenly parent's dream. May your deliberations here be fruitful, and may we all, as great men and women, realize our collective dream of peace for future generations. May heavenly parents bless and protect you and your precious families. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias and mahalo.
Thank you, Dr. Moon. Your elegant representation of Women for Peace inspires everyone. You are calling each of us to action by embracing the true power of our own womanhood. Thank you so very much. Now I'd like to introduce Madame Hilda Patricia Marroquín de Morales, the First Lady of Republic of Guatemala from 2016 to 2020. During the era of mass migration, she supported migrants and dedicated her time to the protection of children, adolescents, the disabled, and young people at social risk. Her motto is serving is when things are done with the heart, they are destined to have a positive impact. Welcome.
Muy buenos días. Reciban todas y todos un cordial saludo desde Guatemala. Agradezco a los directivos y colaboradores de la UPF Centroamericana y el Caribe y su cofundadora, la Madre Moon, por su cordial invitación para participar en esta conferencia internacional de liderazgo bajo el tema Oportunidad y Esperanza en tiempos de crisis global de la Asociación Internacional de Primeras Damas para la Paz. Quiero iniciar compartiéndoles un refrán muy conocido en mi país. Después de la tormenta viene la calma. Este refrán hace alusión a que después de un momento de crisis, entiéndase en sentido figurado, una tormenta, vendrá un tiempo de paz, al haberse solucionado el problema que generaba la crisis. Pero quiero expresar un pensamiento un tanto diferente. Una tormenta no es mala. Casi siempre utilizamos el término tormenta en forma figurada para referirnos a un tiempo de crisis. Sin embargo, está comprobado científicamente que las tormentas y los huracanes sirven para llevar agua a lugares del planeta que sufren de sequías, para combatir las bacterias y la marea roja, para balancear la temperatura del planeta y para hacer florecer la vida silvestre. Así es que las tormentas podrán ser momentos intensos o de crisis en la vida del hombre y de la humanidad. Pero si actuamos con sabiduría, nos pueden dejar cosas buenas. La pandemia del COVID-19, sin duda alguna, es la crisis de salud más grande que la humanidad ha enfrentado en los últimos 100 años y ha costado la vida de muchos seres humanos. Pero pensemos, ¿qué enseñanza podemos obtener y de qué forma nos podemos fortalecer como humanidad? Quiero preguntar, ¿qué generó la crisis? Primero, el COVID-19 es una mutación del coronavirus desconocida que se presentó de una forma tan agresiva y letal que nos hizo entrar en pánico mundial. El avance tecnológico de la humanidad en las comunicaciones, incluidas las redes sociales, jugó un papel decisivo en la propagación de información a nivel mundial, puesto que nos informaron en tiempo real.
Yeah, we were informed in a real time. The people was dying in Europe, in the United States, Latin America, and other places of the world, making sound the alarm of a pandemic in the world as never has been before. We need to add that we don't have a medicine yet, so the government took measurements of biosecurity, closing countries and cities completely. They declare curfews and stop services of the vital guarantees human to avoid the propagation of the virus. What do we learn? First, we need that the human life is fragile. So we need to really take care of it. Second, if we get together, we can come stronger. In this point, I want to mention that some universal values that we can use to become stronger as a universal community. I refer to responsibility, friendship, goodness, solidarity, and in that order, I want to explain what I'm talking about. If we are responsible to accomplish all these structures which the authorities are giving to us to avoid the contagious, we are going to avoid that. But we foster friendship, goodness, and solidarity, we with the others, we will help each other to support the burden. We can share things. We cannot just take the things that we need more than others to create a speculation. Don't create envies and chaos and these social disorders. Finally, we need to be brave to face the problem as people in a society, as individuals in society, to find solutions. Third, this crisis teaches the value of the family, universal value. Besides the others that I expressed before, freedom, justice, peace, truth, respect, and honesty, equality, and honor. If we are going to give us the task from the family to the children, citizens, women, men and women, with these values, we will have a society with a solid basis for better capacities to face this crisis and storms that come in the future. Believe me, my conclusions, no storms, no crises are bad. They just come and we have to face it the best we can. Second, the best way to face the crisis is to strengthen our families, cultivating our universal values. Three, the COVID-19 is making us to reflect about the fragile of life and how it's important to preserve it. I hope these thinkings be something good to build a better world and harmony. I pray for peace and hope, and the hope that we can soon achieve that for all the places in war. Also, I want to use this chance to support the vision and support of Dr. Moon to see a unified Korea and those millions of families who were divided 70 years ago, they could become reunified again. Congratulations to the UPF and every chapter for the co-founder, the Mother Moon, for the work that they do for universal peace. I wish all your success and your noble ideals in this 15th anniversary of your foundation. Blessings to all of you.
Gracias. Thank you, Madam Patricia de Morales, for sharing your kind heart with us and advocating for those less fortunate and at risk. Yes, and healing will come if we unite and be stronger together. And indeed, a storm is not bad, and after the storm, the calm comes. I'd now like to introduce the Honorable Madame María Fernanda Flores de Alemán, First Lady, Nicaragua from 1997 to 2002. She is Congresswoman of the National Assembly of Nicaragua and holds many official positions in leadership at the national level, including the president of the Foundation for Nicaraguan Human Dignity. Please welcome.
Muchas gracias. Muy buenos días a todas y a todos los que estamos hoy reunidos.
Good morning. Those who are present here, allowing our first ladies of the region unify criteria and share a little the different realities that we live in our countries. It is an honor to share with all of you. I want to start by congratulating the Universal Peace Federation for celebrating 15 years of work in the establishment of families based on spiritual principles and values, and above all, recognizing the enormous effort in search for world peace. I always remember the founder and leader of UPF, the Reverend Dr. Samuel Burton, in these 8 years of his ascension. I want to greet and acknowledge that great woman, Dr. Hakchahan Moon, Mother Moon, for keeping her husband's legacy alive and being an example of love, peace for all of us. Thank you, Mother Moon, for all the extraordinary work and dedication that you do for a better world for all of us. Today, we are living difficult, complex moments, experiences that have forced us to stop in our lives. We have had to not only change our ways of living, change the way we're expressing ourselves, the way of relating, but also to value health, to value life, and above all, to value our families. To make a deep analysis and assess how important it is to be united, to examine the priorities that we must have and for which we must actually fight. This COVID-19 pandemic has taught us that health is a treasure that God gives us that actually is priceless. We have had to learn that important things in life do not have a dollar sign or a monetary value. The important things are the ones that we carry inside, the ones that we can share, detaching ourselves from the material, superficial, and making our spiritual development the center of everything, love for our families. Nicaragua, due to its complex political situation and due to the lack of institutionality that we're experiencing, we are one of the countries that began late to face this pandemic, the dictatorial regime of Daniel Ortega, while our neighboring countries were taking all the necessary measures to save the lives of their citizens. Here in Nicaragua, nothing happened. Rather, this regime encouraged and invited activities with crowds of people. This government never took responsible measures to prevent the pandemic. They never closed the schools. Rather, they forced the teachers, they forced the public employees to continue with the same pace of work. They never called for a national quarantine. They never regulated the use of masks, and much less they promoted social distancing. But thanks to the Nicaraguan family who chose to take their own responsible measures and to follow the recommendations of the World Health Organization, is that we have been able to protect our lives. The figures from non-governmental organizations report that until September 12, around 2,500 deaths suspicious from COVID-19 exist throughout the country in Nicaragua. We say suspicious because the regime has monopolized the COVID-19 test, where it can only be done at the Ministry of Health and paying a high cost of $150 in a country where almost 3/4 of the population live in poverty and or extreme poverty. Getting tested is almost impossible. It's a luxury for Nicaraguans. It's also suspicious due to the sad reality in which we Nicaraguans live in the mode of free information. The regime controls and owns most of the media, and the news depends on the vice president wants to tell us every day. The wife, the dictator's wife, promoting only that she's saying this is the best government in the world, and that we live in a country where everything is fine. All this far from the sad reality that we Nicaraguans live. In Nicaragua, we also have to face other collateral effects of the pandemic that also affect citizens, and in this case, especially women. Femicide. What is femicide? It is defined as an act of extreme violence against women because they are women. It is part of the broader concept of gender violence. The quarantine is a necessary measure to escape COVID-19. This recommended measure to save lives, in the case of many women, results in being forced to live with another type of threat: sexist violence, macho violence. In a report from a non-governmental organization indicates that between January and May 2020, 32 murders have been committed in Nicaragua, which also mentioned that only in May, when we celebrated the mother of Nicaragua, 11 of the 32 murders were registered. Compared to last year, there are 5 more femicides in the same period of time. But this is not all. The most alarming thing is that of the total of number of femicides that have been registered this year, only 10 aggressors are in judicial process. That is, there are 22 who are fugitives from justice, and only 4 of these 10 have received sentence. The Nicaraguan parliament approved in March 2011 a law that punishes gender violence and imposes up to 30 years in prison for men who mistreat women. It also defines femicide as the crime committed by a man who kills a woman in public or private as an extreme result of a violence. It also punishes various types of abuse, such as physical, psychological, sexual, and patrimonial. This law could have done more, but unfortunately, it didn't, because it did not include an article that empowers women to prosecute the state for denial of access to justice. This is important, since the state allows crimes to be committed due to gender, due to the institutions, the fact that institutions are not sensitive to the problem. We cannot think that gender violence is going to quarantine. The reality is different. We are the people that isolate ourselves. However, the silent enemy is still omnipresent. Different international organizations collect that in the framework of current global pandemic of COVID-19, violence against women may worsen as a result of the increase in aggressiveness due to the emotional and economic stress experienced in most households worldwide, and the state must act on it. For now, we must take responsibility ourselves. We must take care of ourselves. We must be aware of our friends, relatives, who we know may be in danger. And above all, we must keep our faith firm and our love inside and outside our families and our homes. Things in life are not always good, but it's important to learn a lesson from them, and above all, to stay within our principles and values, having God as the fundamental axis of everything. Thank you very much. May God bless each one of you, and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Honorable Madame Maria Flores. Thank you, gracias, for your strength of purpose, for sharing these realities, yes, for women, and for reminding us that we all need to envision equality and justice for women everywhere.
Thank you.
I'd like to now introduce the Honorable Madame Emilia Alfaro de Franco, First Lady, 2012 to 2013. Senator of Paraguay. She is an entrepreneur, a businesswoman, a politician, and a passionate worker in the social area. She's served in many leadership roles, including the Latin American Parliament, a national senator, and has served as a vice president in the Equality and Gender Commission. Please welcome.
Muy buenos días. Buenos
Good
días
morning
en este sábado maravilloso.
to everyone in this wonderful Saturday. Very happy to be with you thanks to the technology, even keeping distance, but keeping together because of this technology. First, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to listen to you and to talk to each other, sharing experiences, and for those who have spoken previously. So I have gained something from you. I hope humbly to offer some power in this vision of leadership, of women leadership in this pandemic from Paraguay. The situation of the women, according to this pandemic, we are suffering, and we have visualizing a new situations of relation to the condition and participation of women in all fields that are threatened seriously and deeply. These rooms of interaction that we are having as a International Association for First Lady for Peace, we are looking forward to face this negative impact in a new context, so we can address the First Ladies, and so we can remark the politics, institutional politicals that have been said, and so to strengthen the conditions in a coherent way into the frame of a politics and also electoral process, and make the women's leaders from Paraguay to maintain straight, firm in the goals, reach to the conquer of the new spaces in this compromise, this commitment, it will be happening. In 2020, we will have a year we will never forget. This impact of this crisis is affecting the world, the whole world. And I want to mention that during it has hit strongly to Paraguay, especially these last months, later months, not only because it brought some repercussions in what we know and we were accepted as usually, or we take it for granted. In this context, we have seen after several studies about the role of women during the pandemic, we have seen how fundamental is the women for this society well built. This report says that every day are taking care for the family 24 hours, taking care of the kids, their jobs, their homes, studying, and having dedication for all the ways facing this pandemic. Also, away from it, another articles and news are showing about the several variation of violence into the families and feminicides. From here, we can see the consequences are bringing up to a new magnitude, that after the pandemic is gone, we will go to a different world where new social dynamics will emerge in a context of so new, so unknown we are having now.
Qué importante, qué importante.
How important is UPF? It will have a very good channel to change the situation. Having a leader like a Mother Moon, remembering today the disease of Dr. Moon, the organizations of Women for Peace. It's so very important to join us together, to bring us together, and give answer to these questions. In this future, we need to articulate new public politics, and from one side, we can prevent the worst consequences especially over the women, not only during, but also later, after the COVID-19, and on the other side, to secure the conditions so the women can find a place in the construction, a just a crucial place in the construction of this post-pandemic world. Without corruption, with no abuse, no division, having a very strong decision. The word has power. If there is some women's leadership and the word is more than action, if you have a word with action, it has even if it's more powerful and efficiency. So we need to look for the development of women in all fields, and these opportunities should not be denied to place this leadership. Please I encourage you to leader your homes, your jobs, your homes, the candidates to take place in the candidates for public places. Take courage to inspire women to other women. Please, men, pay this equal to the women. Invite the hand. Don't pay them for being women, but for being a human being. Let's vote for more women. We as a leaders, we have equal to work for what we have worked so much and what we've been asking for. We have what the divine principle is been teaching us, and a citizen who has been loving peace, who is always in our hands to follow his example. I'm very happy with you, my colleagues. So thank you for all of you to be here, and to congratulations to the UPF equipment team of work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Madame de Franco, for your courage and your wise words. They inspire all women to seek justice and stay their course with passion and heart, and to reverse once and for all the social dynamics that promote inequality. We can become the backbone of recovery. Thank you all in the audience for a little bit of technological delay. It is amazing that we can bring all these women together all over the world to share such wise strength and amazing words to us. I'd like to now welcome and introduce the Honorable Margarett Best, Member of Parliament, Ontario, Canada, 2007 to 2013. She was twice elected to the Provincial Parliament of Ontario, Canada. She was the first African-Canadian woman to be re-elected to the Ontario Legislature, and the first woman as Minister of Health, Promotion and Sport, as well as the Minister of Consumer Services. Welcome, Honorable Best.
Thank you. Women's leadership in times of global crisis. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. 2020 is a year of unprecedented challenges, throwing the world into a state of global crisis. Yet, we must move forward with hope and look for opportunities to make a difference for humanity. Historically, during times of crisis, women have stepped outside of their comfort zones, making meaningful and important contributions, demonstrating leadership skills with tremendous successes. This pandemic is no exception. Our present situation connects us directly with history, as in this pandemic year 2020, we celebrate the anniversary of the birth of Florence Nightingale, a name which still inspires confidence today, a name given to 7 temporary intensive care hospitals set up by the UK's National Health Services in response to COVID-19, recognizing her contribution to nursing. She stepped out of her comfort zone at a time of crisis, joined the army in an unprecedented move for a woman then. She created a hospital-type space and recruited more women to treat patients during the Crimean War. Her actions gave birth to the nursing profession. She successfully instituted hand sanitizing and overall hygiene as methods to reduce the death toll during that period, just like with COVID-19, and tracked the downward trend death toll. Nightingale was a timeless leader. Queen Elizabeth II was a mechanic during the Second World War. The then Princess Elizabeth, she deconstructed, repaired, and engines and changed tires, drove jeeps, trucks, and ambulances. Her contribution boosted the morale of the British people. German Chancellor Angela Merkel, also known as the scientist-in-chief, guided her country's fight against COVID-19 in a strong and successful manner. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern of New Zealand handled her country's COVID-19 issues with great leadership skills. New Zealand is ahead of most countries in the world on COVID-19 issues. Mia Mottley is the first woman Prime Minister of Barbados, taking power in a landslide sweep of all the seats in Barbados Parliament. During the 2020 pandemic, she has seen extraordinary success in handling pandemic in Barbados. She also opened up the island nation and received individuals who were stranded at sea. She led with empathy from the heart and humanity. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, and I quote, "Not everyone can be famous, but everyone can be great, because greatness is measured by your service to others," unquote. Recently, I've seen women demonstrate leadership in their work on Project M. It is a General Motors care project responding to COVID-19 under the leadership of Mary Barra, who is the first woman CEO and chairperson of a major manufacturing car company. She said, and I quote, "Whether it is beverage companies producing hand sanitizers or fashion companies creating hospital gowns, there's nothing more entrepreneurial than seeing an urgent need and meeting it," unquote. And that is why we are using our scale, expertise, and resources to fill the dire shortage of ventilators, face masks, and shields. She continued. In January 2020, in a conference around the world, thank you. The project has seen men and women from various diversities working together at a time of crisis. This is the M project I am back to. Some of the women, myself included, have stepped outside of our comfort zones to meet an urgent need and make a difference. My sister, a nurse, stepped out of her comfort zone in her place of work. She volunteered to work on the COVID-19 floor because she saw a desperate need at a time of great crisis. In February 2020, I was a delegate with the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace, Canada, at the World Peace Summit in South Korea. The summit was conducted under the leadership of Dr. Hak Ja-an Moon, leader of Universal Peace Federation. And I'm back to in January 2020. This is where we were at a conference. Delegates from around the world were briefed regularly, virtually, before the World Health Organizations determined that COVID-19 was a pandemic. When we arrived in Seoul, South Korea, delegates were housed in separate hotels according to continents. Health promotion and prevention protocols were implemented despite very little being known about the virus at that time. Doctors and nurses were assigned to each hospital to attend to medical situations. Masks and hand sanitizers were distributed to participants, and there was strict temperature screenings at points of entry. The first item on the agenda was a presentation of key steps that were implemented to ensure the safety of everyone, including a detailed presentation about the hospital and staff that was dedicated to addressing the issues. Dr. Moon led a flawless execution of the World Peace Summit. There were many lessons that nations could have gleaned from that summit in the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic 2020. The pandemic has demonstrated that we are inextricably linked as one race, the human race. So please, I urge you to step out of your comfort zones and seize opportunities to be beacons of light and hope, even doing small things for humanity's sake. Mary Barra said, and I quote, "As we all come to terms with this global pandemic and how it's changing our lives and the livelihoods of those around us, there are resounding reminders that we can and always will do what it takes in any crisis to come out stronger on the other end." This ties perfectly into the words of Mother Moon, and I quote, "living for the sake of others," unquote. Thank you so much, and good morning.
Thank you, Honorable Best. Courageous firsts are certainly the pathway to ignite change, and we appreciate you demonstrating how stepping out of our comfort zone is one way to express the feminine way of winning with heart. I'd now like to introduce Dr. Samuel Burton, former Vice President of the Congressional Club in Washington, D.C., and Assistant Clinical Professor of Medicine at George Washington University. She serves in multiple leadership positions with U.S. congressional clubs and foundations. She is also a physician of internal medicine and serves on the board for humanitarian organizations that protect women and children from domestic violence. Welcome, Dr. Burton.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It's so nice to be with you again this year. First of all, congratulations to Dr. Walsh and his impressive team on the 15th anniversary of the founding of UPF. It's hard to believe it has been several months since we gathered in South Korea to celebrate the establishment of the International Association of First Ladies for Peace. As I call it, the crème de la crème, the best of the best, among all other outstanding organizations founded by Mother Moon, the Mother of Peace. The role of women leadership in general and the role of the First Ladies is so important at this time of a global crisis. People look to leaders like you for guidance and hope. Fear, anxiety, and stress are overwhelming to children and adults. It's well known that stress during infectious disease outbreak can cause fear about people's own health and the health of their loved ones, as well as worry about their financial situation, jobs, or losing support, services they rely on. At times when people are faced with the uncertainty of the unknown, it's the time for leaders like yourselves to be strong and calm. This will instill confidence in people around you. We are facing a pandemic within a pandemic. Social restrictions to reduce disease transmission and reduce the risk of COVID-19 infection remain active throughout the United States and the world. Symptoms of anxiety disorders and depressive disorders has increased tremendously in the United States compared to last year, with increased substance use and elevated suicidal attempts. The pandemic presents unique challenges for people with substance abuse disorders and those in recovery. The hard work of solving the opioid pandemic here in the United States, led by our First Lady, Mrs. Trump, has been reduced, unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Widespread shutdowns and social distancing measures have made it difficult for those seeking guidance and treatment. Because of this, the United States has experienced a surge in alcohol sales and relapses as substance abuse becomes more prominent. Domestic violence. How exceptionally dangerous this time would be for women living with abused partners, self-isolate, stay at home, practice social distancing, and recession are words likely to be terrifying to many women who are living with domestic violence. The lives of these women and their children are often filled with fear and danger under normal circumstances. But during this new normal of the global pandemic, the lives of these very often invisible victims are at increased risk for more violence and even murder. Unfortunately, the realities of COVID-19 and its restrictions have indeed caused a perfect storm for women experiencing domestic violence. There have been numerous media reports indicating huge spikes in calls to domestic violence hotlines, sometimes tripling the typical numbers of requests for help after stay-at-home orders were mandated. Women's ability to escape from situations has been reduced during this time. In many situations, COVID-19 mandates require that women remain locked down with their abuser. Friends who women may previously have been able to turn to may no longer be in position to help due to social distancing regulations. Women may also be afraid to leave for fear of exposing themselves and their children to the virus, including going to a shelter if a shelter is even available. Child abuse, sadly, a study documented an alarming rise in child abuse relating to head injuries adds to increasing evidence that the coronavirus pandemic and efforts to contain it are taking a serious toll on children. I stop politicizing medicine. Please, I urge that we not let politics control science and medicine. Recently, many people do not trust any data or statistics, even if published in what have been considered the most reliable science or medical journals in the world. It all depends on who is behind the research and who would benefit from publishing. The greatest challenges for most healthcare providers and workers was not the fear of getting coronavirus, nor the shortage of personal protective equipment, PPE, as much as it was not being able to give correct advice to the and right treatment. This pandemic caught us up unprepared. So I hope you as First Ladies and women leaders in the Americas and throughout the world would be watchful, working with your country's public health organizations so we can possibly head off a future pandemic before it gets out of control, which is most of you are doing already. One of the silver lining of the pandemic is that it has truly brought humanity together. I believe that we women leaders can make a huge difference by putting our heads and hearts together beyond differences and nations and come up with special solutions. Following the steps of Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, Mother Moon, who is providing new vision and a voice of hope and putting all her energy toward creating a better environment for the future in the middle of this pandemic, and her family too. From a medical perspective, I think we need to work together to make sure we are well informed and prepared by setting guidelines and protocols, by focusing on preventative measures to improve physical, mental, psychological, and spiritual health, and setting an example of practicing positivity. Keeping a positive mind during a crisis can boost your immunity system, increase your ability to cope, and your ability to recover quickly. I am very much inspired and encouraged by this new initiative of the IAFLP as an essential component of the UPF, which I hope will be a great resource and inspiration for all heads of state and leaders worldwide. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Burton, for enlightening us on this, the value of self-care, self-love, to be informed, and how important that mental health is for all of us, because we are all children of God and we deserve the right to be loved and protected, all of us.
Thank you.
It has been amazing discussions with such powerful women, and we do have time now for a few questions. The first question I think we can address with Madame Hilda Patricia Marroquín Morales, and that question is, thank you for underlying the fact that crises are not to be seen only as bad, but it gives us an opportunity to evaluate our countries and our societies. So how can we implement necessary change, and what is the role of women and youth in the process?
No escuché la pregunta. ¿Me la puede repetir, por favor?
Please repeat the question again.
Yes, okay. How do women and children become involved in moving forward with the protection for all, being part of the solution?
Claro, creo que lo que, como mencioné en mi
As I said before, we need to strengthen our families. We need to strengthen our families, and overall, being together, we can be together, we can be support many other people, being responsible, being collaborating with solidarity to all that are more in need, and together as family we can work together and bring him up to reflect all to the community.
Gracias. Thank you so much. To everyone on the panel, the question next is it necessary and essential for women to actively participate in politics? And that question is open for any one of the women on the panel.
Hi, I would like to address that question. Thank you very much. First of all, I would say it is not necessary for women to participate in politics. However, if this opportunity arises, or if women are interested, and they should participate. However, women can be engaged with community activities and with individuals in need in various other ways than in politics. Myself, I was very much involved in my communities, and I represent many communities prior to entering politics. That is how I was first seen and asked to run as a candidate for political office in Canada because of the work that I did in community. And so I would say to women generally, reach out and do what you can at whatever level you can, whether it is with your home, your families, with your colleagues, with whoever you can to make a difference. And that is very important. But at the same time, if there is an opportunity to get engaged with politics, certainly I believe women have a lot to offer, and they certainly bring a very different perspective to the political tables with heart. And I think it's great because we have seen throughout the world that women have had great successes in using their style of reasoning to reach incredible solutions to long-standing issues.
Thank you so much. Perdón. Yes, would you like to contribute, Emilia?
Okay. Sí, sí.
Yeah, of course. I want to share something. I believe that the participation of women in politics, it has to be present in every field. So in that way, we can consolidate democracies, especially in our countries where democracy is still so weak. The women's participation must take place in all the places, no matter what it is private, civic, political, because women must take a place to change the society, to look for a better, to change the current situation, especially now that we are all facing the same problem. Like in Paraguay, my country, where women until now has been discriminated.
De decisión como ministra del Poder Ejecutivo, del Poder Judicial. Es importante que se siga manteniendo eso. Decía yo en mi ponencia, ojalá que con esta pandemia no retrocedamos en lo que ya hemos avanzado en las mujeres. Tenemos leyes que favorecen el desempeño de las mujeres, tanto rural, indígena, pero todavía existe esta discriminación. Por lo tanto,
so we are still having some kind of discrimination. We cannot move backwards. So we need to put women in those places. So I'm very firmly convinced that the women, need to take a part in politics. They need to find places as minister, as secretary of state, as presiding commissions, health commissions, because we cannot go backwards, going back to, we have been advancing by now. And now we can see moving backwards as an excuse of this COVID-19 situation. And also now is coming from a new law that is affecting this. And now with this new electoral law soon is going to be imposed. And next year we're going to go to elections. So we, according to this law, we are going to lose a lot of place, a lot of numbers of women in politics, and so we will be reduce our capacity to change. As you know, it has been women who has bring up nations after the great wars.
One last question for Mrs. Angelika Selle. How can we continue to work together after this conference?
That is the best question. So we can continue the amazing and profound, discussion that just started and bring the realities to the table, right? I would say, number one, continue the conversation beyond our different countries and regions, even continents, because the answer is in each of us, and especially as women, we have it in our hearts. So we collaborate and we pull our resources together to help each other, because as COVID-19 makes us equal, right? So we need also solutions that help everyone, not only our own country, right? So living for the sake of others and keeping inspired, keeping hope alive. And I do agree with Dr. Sanjin Moon's mentioning, and our founders always highlight the necessity of connect to our God, our divine creator, for answers, because our human resources have been pretty much been exhausted in finding solutions. That would be my advice.
Thank you so much. It has been an amazing adventure. And just for the audience to know that we have recorded all your questions. And if your question has not been answered yet, you will be provided a response either personally or in a forum blog for the benefit of everyone to see. In closing, as we reflect upon building this foundation of principled leadership, together through Mother Moon's logic of love, where heart and mind lead through the Spirit of God, we can work together to foster global peace, and we do have the ability to shape humanity. Let us close this event with a new hope, a new vision, and a renewed sense of purpose. Thank you and congratulations to everyone in the audience for joining this historic first-time event. A special thank you to our esteemed First Ladies and Women of Leadership in Governments, our event chair, President Angelika Selle, for her organization, President Dr. Sanjin Moon for her tireless leadership and inspirational message, Madame Hilda Patricia Marroquín de Morales, Honorable Madame María Fernanda Flores de Alemán, Honorable Madame Emilia Alfaro de Franco, the Honorable Margarett Best, and Dr. Samuel Burton. Muchas gracias. And to all of you working behind the scenes to make this event possible, thank you for your dedication and support. From the bottom of our heart to yours, good day.
Thank you.